Hello class. Okay, so we have got a really lovely week of English learning coming up today and next week. We are actually going to be starting to develop our own story based on the novel Wonder. So that is why obviously I've asked you guys to carry on reading the story if you can where possible. So some of you I know are all the way through the story, you've actually finished it. Some of you have watched the film and are just part way through up to where I've asked you to read. So if you could, today please, if you haven't already, I'd like you to read up to page 136, okay? So you were up to 119, I think. So by the end of today, if you could independently read on your own up to 136, then that's really going to help you with next week's learning. Obviously, over the weekend, feel free if you get to page 150, if you think, oh, actually, I'm really enjoying this bit, let's get to page 200, then that's super. Today we're actually going to focus on writing a blurb for our novel Wonder. So we're going to be thinking first of all about who our main character is. Our main character in the story is August, but you guys need to start thinking of your own character's name, okay? Along with this, you will also need to think of what it makes your character different to everybody else at school. What makes your character, you know, like August has got his facial disfigurement and he stayed at home. What's your character? It might be that actually he was born and he only had one leg, or it might be that he struggles, he might be visually impaired, he might have a hearing impairment. There's all sorts of different things that you could have for your character. So that's what I want you to be thinking about today and over the weekend. You don't necessarily need to know that as such for today. However, you need to know your character's name for definite by today, okay? So the blurb here, what I want you to do actually before you get started is to find 3 books in your house, okay? 3 children's books in your house and have a little bit of a read about the blurb, okay? So pause the video, go and find yourself 3 books and read the blurbs of all 3 of them, please. Off you go. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance there to do that. Your parents might have been like, why are you running around the house? But it's good just to get up and active and around a little bit. So once you've read the books, what I want you to think about is what have all 3 of those books, whichever books you've got, they're all going to have something in common. And we know that blurbs don't give away the story, because if they told me the ending of the story, there's no point in me reading it. I know what's going to happen. Yeah, I don't know the full details, but if I know the ending, I don't need to read it. So we know that obviously a blurb, creates a little bit of suspense. Is there anything else that you guys found in those 3 books that you've got? Any other details that you think actually is quite common? Let's add that to our success criteria. Just have a think. So suspense is going to be created by having very little detail, okay? Normally I say description, 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 get that dialogue in, get the action, you know, get all that description and detail in there. But a blurb doesn't have all of that detail, okay? This blurb from the book Wonder, my name is August, I won't describe what I look like, whatever you're thinking, it's probably worse. That's really basic. So we don't know actually how he looks. We don't know anything about his education, anything about his schooling, anything about his family. It's just really straight to the point, blunt, very little detail, okay? But it creates suspense. So that's one thing that we definitely need in our success criteria. I also think that you need a striking statement, okay? So that's one statement that makes you think, crikey, it really stands out from the rest, and we'll have a think about that compared with this in a second. We'll actually find each of these 4 things. The next thing I want for you to include, that you have to include, so you have to include these things, is a rhetorical question, okay? A rhetorical question really helps to create suspense. It really helps to make the reader think about you know, what you've asked them, and it really makes them actually think, I'm not too sure, let's read about this, okay? So we've got a rhetorical question. And finally, for those year 6s that are in green and blue group, I want you to be thinking about trying to include an ellipsis. Now you will see that the book wonder doesn't actually have an ellipsis. However, a book that you've got at home that you chose just before might have an ellipsis in it, okay? And that's going to really help you with your writing today. So all I've done here is just write the blurb out, and I've actually added a rhetorical question, okay? So let's see if we can spot any of these 4 things in my really short, blunt, very little detailed blurb, okay? My name is August. I won't describe what I look like. Whatever you're thinking, it's probably worse. How can you blend in when you were born to stand out? Okay, so let's highlight a few of these things. Let's just see if we can recognise them. Can we see that there's suspense and very little detail? Well, yeah, it just says whatever. I won't describe what I look like. So it's actually doing the opposite, isn't it? It's giving us that detail. So we've got that included. Have we got a striking statement? Where do you think the striking statement is and what's striking about it? The striking statement I think I picked up on is this: whatever you're thinking, it's probably worse. That makes you think, goodness me, you know, this boy, August, is so conscious about his disfigurement or whatever it is that's, you know, going on with him. He's so not happy with it, the way he looks. And that to me stands out, especially for a child. It's very striking. Then have we got a rhetorical question? So basically, have we got a question in there that makes the reader think a little bit more and want to read on? Yeah, we have here. How can you blend in when you were born to stand out? Okay, so we've got the rhetorical question. The only thing we haven't got here is an ellipsis. Now, the way that blue and green group, you might choose to include your ellipsis, that normally comes at the end of the blurb, doesn't it? At the end of the paragraph where you want them to carry on reading. So if you are wanting to include ellipsis, I would put it here, and then I would move your rhetorical question to the start, okay? If you are not included ellipsis, then keep your rhetorical question at the end. So you might have, how can you blend in when you were born to stand out? So that's your rhetorical question to open up your blurb. Then you go on to this bit, my name is August, da 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 da. It's probably worse, ... You could have your ellipsis there, or you could have, it's probably worse, and then another sentence that makes you think, I need to read on, ellipsis, okay? So that's how you can include that if you want. I haven't included it here, but I've just talked about how we can. Okay, so the things you are going to now write your own blurb. You can, I know there's some fantastic writers in Willow class, and you might decide, you know what, I don't even want to use any blurbs, I want to create one of my own. However, I know that some children struggle to do that from the, from the top of the head and actually need something to work from, and that's okay. Okay, so we're going to magpie the ideas from the book, but we're just going to change some things. So the things that we're going to change is, my name is, and you are changing August. You are thinking of your own character's name. Whatever character you come up with today, whether it's Toby, whether it's Penny, whatever name it is, you need to think that is going to stick for your whole book, okay? So bear that in mind. I won't describe what I look like. Now, yours might not be look, okay? It might be by the way that the character talks, he might have an impairment with his speech, okay? So if it's that, if it is that's the character's need, then you're going to put, I won't describe what I sound like, okay? So bear that in mind. Obviously, if your character is, maybe has lost a leg at birth or something like that, you are still going to keep the word look. Whatever you're thinking, it's probably worse. I love that statement, but at the same time, I think you guys can all come up with something better. So change that, but you still need to have a striking statement, okay? So change it, but make sure it's just as good. And then finally, my rhetorical question at the end, how can you blend in when you were born to stand out? This needs changing as well, because we cannot just copy all of it. So you might decide, okay, how can you blend in and then you could change it, because maybe he wasn't born with a disfigurement that you've decided. Maybe it was a freak accident that's happened. Maybe he's been in a car accident. Maybe there's been a natural disaster, and that is going to be the thing that changes your rhetorical question. So today, although it seems like a short English lesson because all you're writing is a quick blurb, you're actually going to be doing a lot of thinking about your character's name, your character's disfigurement or disability or need, and all of these things that need changing, okay? So by the end of this lesson, I want a blurb, well written, with all of these things, the success criteria. However, you also need to be thinking behind the scenes a lot about your plan, basically. Come Monday, we are going to be there, and Monday and Tuesday, I think it is, we are going to be actually doing our plan, all right, for our own novel based on Monday. Also, one last thing before you do go and do your activities, you are going to be expecting some post, which might be arriving today or it might be coming over the weekend. So your post that arrives is actually a little book that we've made in school for you based on Wonder. It's blank though. And we've made them before in school, but obviously you guys might not have the paper big enough, you might not have the things at home to make these books. So we've made them in school for you, and what you are going to do next week, once we've actually started to plan our novel, you're then going to start doing your front cover, writing your blurb on there, making it look really striking, really eye-catching, and I hope that we can eventually, when we do come back to school, we can hopefully put these in our book corners if they're looking amazing. So remember that high standard level of work that I'd expect next week when it comes to actually doing your books, okay? And look forward to getting your post at home. Good luck with your learning today, and I hope you all have a fantastic weekend.